You will never consistently receive from life what you secretly believe belongs to someone better than you. Read that again in your own mind. You may say you want wealth. You may say you want influence. You may say you want a better home, stronger relationships, greater freedom, or a larger opportunity. But desire spoken with the lips is not always desire accepted by the mind. A man can ask for abundance while inwardly preparing himself for disappointment. He can work toward success while feeling suspicious of success. He can stand before an open door and hesitate because some hidden voice says, "Men like you do not belong in rooms like this." That hidden voice can cancel years of effort. This is why you must examine not only what you want, but what you believe you are entitled to receive through useful service, disciplined effort, and honest growth. The word deserve is dangerous when misunderstood. I am not telling you that life owes you wealth because you desire it. Life owes no man a fortune merely because he wants one. I am telling you that if you believe success is somehow forbidden to you, you will repeatedly behave in ways that keep it distant. You will ask for less, negotiate poorly, withdraw too early, distrust good opportunities, underprice your ability, choose people who confirm your low opinion of yourself. Then you will call the result fate. It is not always fate. Sometimes it is self-concept operating quietly through conduct. Your outer life often follows the limits you repeatedly accept inwardly. A man who believes he is worth only a small wage rarely studies how to create greater value. A man who believes good relationships never last may choose people who make that belief come true. A man who believes he is always overlooked begins entering rooms already expecting rejection. Expectation changes posture. Posture changes action. Action changes result. This is not magic. It is cause and effect. You must become conscious of the standard you have placed upon yourself. Ask what level of success feels natural to me? Not exciting. Natural. There is a difference. You may dream of 10 times your present income, yet feel uncomfortable imagining yourself actually managing it. You may desire recognition, yet become uneasy when attention arrives. You may want a stronger position, yet feel guilty when you begin surpassing people you once stood beside. That discomfort matters. It reveals the border of your present identity. And unless that identity expands, you may sabotage anything that asks you to become larger than the man you have been. This sabotage is rarely dramatic. It appears as delay. You fail to send a proposal. You postpone the conversation. You do not ask for the price your work deserves. You remain loyal to an arrangement you have outgrown. You tell yourself you are being patient when you are actually afraid to claim a larger place. Be honest. Where are you still asking permission to become more? Perhaps from your family. Perhaps from old associates. Perhaps from people who knew you when your ambitions were smaller. Perhaps from a former version of yourself. You do not need their permission, but you do need your own. This permission is not arrogance. It is willingness to accept responsibility for greater possibility. Many men say they want more, but they do not want the identity required to hold more. Greater income requires greater judgment. Greater leadership requires greater emotional control. Greater freedom requires greater self-discipline. Greater recognition requires the ability to be seen without becoming dependent upon praise. You must become able to carry what you are asking for. That is a better meaning of deserving. Deserving is not sitting still and declaring yourself worthy. It is developing the character, skills, service, and self-command that make larger results compatible with who you have become. Do not beg life for what your habits are still rejecting. Prepare yourself. If you want wealth, become more useful. Learn to manage what you already possess. Keep accounts. Control unnecessary spending. Study value. Observe how money moves. A man who cannot govern a little may become frightened when much arrives. If you want responsibility, become reliable before the title appears. Keep small promises. Finish work. Tell the truth when the truth costs something. Make decisions. Responsibility should recognize you before authority formally names you. If you want respect, stop bargaining against your own principles. Respect begins privately. The man who repeatedly betrays his own standards cannot be made secure by public approval. He may receive applause and still feel fraudulent. Build inner evidence. This is where belief changes honestly. You cannot command yourself to feel worthy while living in ways that constantly produce shame. Change the conduct. Then let the mind update its opinion. Keep one promise you usually break. Complete one task you normally postpone. Say no where you usually surrender. Ask for fair compensation where you usually shrink. Each act becomes evidence. Evidence is stronger than empty affirmation. You are teaching yourself, I can trust this man, and the man is you. Self-trust is one of the foundations of deserving. When you trust yourself, opportunity feels less threatening because you believe you can meet responsibility. Without self-trust, even success can create anxiety. You receive a larger opportunity and immediately fear exposure. You earn more and wait for it to disappear. Someone treats you well and you begin searching for the hidden motive. Why? Because the new condition conflicts with the old self-image. The mind tries to return to what feels familiar, even when familiar is inferior. Understand this tendency. Familiarity is not proof of truth. You may be familiar with scarcity. That does not make scarcity your natural station. You may be familiar with criticism. That does not mean respect is suspicious. You may be familiar with struggling for every advantage. That does not mean an opportunity must be difficult before it can be honorable. Sometimes life becomes easier because you became better prepared. Accept that. Do not create unnecessary hardship merely to make success feel deserved. A man can become so accustomed to earning everything through pain that an open door makes him uncomfortable. He thinks this came too easily. Perhaps it came easily because 10 years of preparation made you ready when the door opened. Do not insult preparation by calling every favorable result luck. Receive the result, then carry it well. This is another skill you must develop. Some men know how to chase success, but do not know how to receive it. They can pursue, they can struggle, they can sacrifice. But when reward arrives, guilt appears. They minimize the achievement. They give too much away. They create another crisis. They feel safer striving than possessing. That pattern reveals a belief problem. You have taught yourself that wanting is acceptable, but having is dangerous. Change that lesson. You can possess without becoming arrogant. You can prosper without becoming wasteful. You can be recognized without becoming vain. You can live well without despising those who have less. Success does not automatically corrupt character. It reveals and enlarges tendencies already present. Therefore, strengthen character before the increase. Then you do not need to fear the increase. You also need to examine the company you keep. A man's sense of what is possible is influenced by the standards surrounding him. If every associate treats ambition as foolish, you may begin apologizing for your own. If every conversation mocks wealth, discipline, study, or improvement, you may shrink your goals simply to remain socially comfortable. Be careful. Belonging can become expensive. You may pay for acceptance with your future. This does not mean abandoning everyone who thinks differently. It means refusing to let another man's ceiling become your ceiling. Listen respectfully, then think independently. Your definite purpose must be stronger than the casual opinion of people who are not responsible for your destiny. A man often fears outgrowing his surroundings because growth creates distance. Old companions may say, "You have changed." They may be correct. You are supposed to change if the old version of you could not carry the future you desire. Change deliberately. Become more disciplined, more accurate, more useful, more selective. Do not become cruel. Do not become proud, but do not remain small to prove loyalty. True loyalty does not require self-betrayal. The right people will not need you to fail in order to feel comfortable beside you. And if some relationships cannot survive your growth, do not automatically conclude that growth was wrong. Examine your conduct. If you became arrogant, correct it. If you merely became clearer, stronger, and more purposeful, continue. Self-worth also appears in what you tolerate. Look at your agreements, your working conditions, your associations, your habits, your private conversation. What have you accepted repeatedly that teaches you to expect less? Every repeated tolerance becomes instruction. If you tolerate disrespect without reason, you teach yourself that respect is optional. If you continually work below your ability because asking for greater responsibility frightens you, you teach yourself that your ability should remain hidden. If you remain in financial disorder while claiming to desire prosperity, you teach yourself that prosperity is only fantasy. Your life listens to what you repeatedly permit. Raise the standard carefully, not all at once. A man who suddenly demands a completely different life without developing different capacity creates frustration. Raise one standard and support it with action. Perhaps you stop making purchases without thought. Perhaps you stop accepting work that violates a clear principle. Perhaps you begin studying 1 hour each evening. Perhaps you enter one room where people operate at a higher level and listen more than you speak. The point is expansion. You are increasing what feels normal. That is essential. What once felt extraordinary can become familiar through repeated exposure and competence. A young clerk may tremble the first time he speaks before senior men. After years of preparation and responsible decisions, the same room becomes ordinary. The room did not necessarily shrink. The man expanded. That is what you must do with the life you desire. Do not merely picture the reward. Picture yourself competent inside the reward. How would you manage the money? How would you use the influence? How would you conduct yourself in the larger house, the larger enterprise, the greater responsibility? Make the mind acquainted with stewardship, not merely possession. This keeps desire from becoming fantasy. You are not saying, "I deserve everything I can imagine." You are saying, "I am willing to become the man who can responsibly receive, use, and preserve more." That is a disciplined form of belief. This is where deliberate autosuggestion must become practical. Repeatedly tell yourself what kind of man you are becoming, but attach every statement to behavior. If you say you are worthy of responsibility, prepare for responsibility. If you say you are capable of wealth, govern money with care. If you say you belong among stronger minds, develop something worth contributing when you enter their company. The subconscious mind is influenced by repetition, but repetition gains authority when conduct confirms it. Give your mind proof. Let each day contain an act that agrees with the future you claim to desire. In time, the unfamiliar becomes believable because you have begun living toward it before possessing it fully. And as this belief strengthens, you will notice that opportunities you once avoided begin looking different. The conversation you feared becomes necessary. The price you were afraid to name becomes reasonable. The room where you once felt inferior becomes a place where you can contribute. The future stops looking like property owned by other people. But one obstacle remains. Even after a man begins believing he can rise, he may still carry guilt about surpassing the conditions, expectations, and identities from which he came. And unless that guilt is understood, he may climb with one hand while using the other to pull himself back toward the life he has already outgrown. A man may begin to believe he can rise and still feel guilty about rising. That guilt is one of the quietest forms of self-sabotage. It does not always say stay small. Sometimes it says, do not become too different. Do not earn too much. Do not become too visible. Do not move too far beyond the people who knew you before success had a name. And because the message sounds like loyalty, humility, or gratitude, many men obey it without realizing they are obeying fear. You must separate loyalty from limitation. You can love where you came from without being required to remain there. You can honor the people who helped you without copying every condition they accepted. You can respect your family without repeating every financial pattern that existed in your family. You can appreciate old friends without surrendering your future to their comfort. Growth is not betrayal, but growth will expose agreements you made without realizing you made them. Perhaps you learned early that wealthy men were greedy. Then when money begins coming toward you, part of you becomes suspicious of yourself. Perhaps you were taught that wanting more was selfish. Then ambition creates guilt. Perhaps your surroundings praise struggle so strongly that ease now feels undeserved. Then whenever life improves, you create another difficulty, simply because difficulty feels morally safer. These beliefs must be examined. Do not ask only, what do I consciously believe? Ask, what does my behavior prove I believe? A man may say money is useful and still spend it carelessly whenever he has more than usual. Why? Perhaps holding money makes him uncomfortable. A man may say he wants respect and still laugh when someone compliments his work. Why? Perhaps recognition conflicts with an identity built around being overlooked. A man may say he wants a better relationship and still choose people who are emotionally unavailable. Why? Perhaps inconsistency feels more familiar than being valued. Your patterns reveal beliefs your words may hide. Study the pattern. Where do you repeatedly rise and then retreat? Where do you improve and then sabotage the improvement? Where do you receive something good and immediately become uneasy? That is where the old ceiling may still exist. Do not condemn yourself when you see it. Study it. A hidden pattern becomes easier to change once it has a name. Suppose you earn more than before and immediately increase spending until you feel financially strained again. Do not merely say, "I am bad with money." Ask what condition you recreated. Perhaps strain feels familiar. Perhaps abundance feels temporary, so you rush to use it before it disappears. Perhaps you fear that keeping more will separate you from people who have less. Now, the problem is deeper than arithmetic. The arithmetic still matters. Build a budget. Keep reserves. Invest intelligently, but also change the emotional meaning of having more. Money can remain in your possession without making you selfish. Money can give you margin without making you arrogant. Money can be used for service without being wasted for approval. Teach yourself this through conduct. Keep some, use some, give some where giving is wise. Let money become a tool instead of a test of whether you still belong to your old identity. The same principle applies to opportunity. A man may receive an invitation into a better room and immediately begin acting smaller. He speaks less clearly. He apologizes too much. He becomes grateful merely to be present instead of remembering he was invited because he has something useful to contribute. Stop entering rooms as though your presence requires forgiveness. If you have prepared, if you bring value, if your conduct is honorable, stand properly. You do not need arrogance. You need proportion. Other men are men. Titles do not change that. Wealth does not make another man's mind sacred. Position does not make your own mind worthless. Observe, learn, respect excellence, but do not kneel psychologically before it. Inferiority can damage judgment just as surely as vanity. The inferior man agrees too quickly. He does not question weak assumptions. He accepts poor terms because he is honored merely to be included. Then later he complains about the arrangement. The error began when he surrendered equality of thought. Develop independence. You may have less experience, then listen more. You may know less about a subject, then ask better questions. Humility is accurate. Inferiority is inaccurate. Humility says, "I have something to learn." Inferiority says, "I have nothing to contribute." Do not confuse them. A man who believes he deserves a larger life must also become able to receive better treatment without suspicion. This can be difficult if poor treatment has been familiar. Someone respects your time. You assume there must be a hidden motive. Someone keeps a promise. You wait for the betrayal. Someone offers fair terms. You search for the trap. Caution is wise. Permanent suspicion is not. Judge by evidence. Let good conduct remain good conduct until contrary evidence appears. Do not punish present people for past people's behavior. That is another way the old identity protects itself. It says people like us are always disappointed. Then it looks for evidence, and because the mind seeks confirmation, it notices every weakness and overlooks every proof of reliability. Accurate thinking requires a wider field. What is actually happening now? Who is this person? What pattern has he shown? What facts exist? Use present evidence. The past should improve judgment, not replace judgment. This applies to love as much as money. A man who secretly believes he is difficult to love may reject healthy affection because it feels unbelievable. He chooses relationships where he must constantly prove himself. Why? Because proving feels familiar. Receiving feels dangerous. Then he says, love is always difficult. Perhaps his selection made it difficult. Change the selection. Become comfortable with reciprocity. You give and receive. You support and are supported. You speak honestly and are heard. You respect and are respected. This balance may feel unusual at first. Do not mistake unfamiliarity for wrongness. Many good things feel strange before they feel normal. That is why repetition matters. The mind learns through repeated experience. If you repeatedly keep more money without guilt, financial stability begins feeling normal. If you repeatedly enter serious rooms prepared and composed, confidence begins feeling normal. If you repeatedly accept fair treatment without suspicion, respect begins feeling normal. If you repeatedly make decisions aligned with your future rather than your past, growth begins feeling normal. Normality is powerful. A man rarely fights hard against what feels normal. That is why you must deliberately change what your mind considers ordinary. Do not merely chase extraordinary results. Build ordinary habits that make extraordinary results sustainable. This is where self-concept becomes practical. If your identity says, I am a disciplined man, the question becomes, what does a disciplined man do today? He plans. He finishes. He controls unnecessary appetite. He keeps his word. He does not require drama before action. Each act reinforces the identity. If your identity says, I am capable of prosperity, then prosperity must show up in behavior before it shows up in wealth. You track money. You understand obligations. You study opportunity. You avoid foolish display. You seek to create more value than you consume. Now, the belief has evidence beneath it. This is very different from repeating, I am rich while living carelessly. Fantasy avoids responsibility. Faith prepares for responsibility. Build faith. A man who truly believes he can rise behaves differently before the result arrives. He dresses his mind before he dresses his circumstances. He becomes orderly before the office becomes larger. He becomes reliable before the title becomes greater. He learns to handle small negotiations before large negotiations appear. He learns to command one day before asking life to entrust him with a larger enterprise. This is preparation, and preparation quietly changes what you feel you deserve because you know what you have done to become ready. Confidence earned through preparation is harder to shake. It does not depend on applause. You know how many evenings you studied. You know how many promises you kept. You know how many weak habits you corrected. You know how many times you chose principle when nobody was watching. This private history becomes inner evidence. Use it. When doubt says, who are you to ask for this answer with conduct? I prepared. I learned. I served. I improved. I am not demanding charity. I am asking to be compensated according to value. That is a clean position. There is no arrogance in fair exchange. A man who creates value should not feel guilty asking for value in return. But many do. They price work according to fear. They imagine the other person will leave. So they reduce the price before anyone objects. They negotiate against themselves. Then they resent the result. Stop doing that. Know the value. Know the market. Know the quality of your service. Then state terms calmly. If the other person declines, that is information. It is not humiliation. Perhaps the fit was wrong. Perhaps your value was not clear. Perhaps your estimate was too high. Review facts. Do not turn one refusal into a verdict on your worth. Your worth and one transaction are not the same thing. This distinction protects both confidence and judgment. The same must be learned with opportunity. Do not make every closed door proof that you are not ready. Sometimes the door is simply closed. Sometimes the timing is wrong. Sometimes another man is better suited. Sign improve where improvement is needed. Then continue. The man who believes he deserves nothing interprets every refusal as confirmation. The man who believes he can earn larger opportunity interprets refusal as one piece of information. That is why belief affects persistence. If you think success belongs to other people, one failure feels final. If you believe you can become the man capable of success, failure becomes instruction. The difference appears in what happens next. You either withdraw or refine. Choose refinement. But deserving also requires the courage to stop overcompensating. Some men work twice as hard as necessary because they feel they must prove they belong. They arrive prepared, then continue proving long after proof is established. They take on too much. They never refuse. They become indispensable. Then exhaustion follows. Why? Because they are not merely doing the job. They are paying an emotional entrance fee every day. Stop paying twice. If your work is good, let the work stand. If your conduct is reliable, let reliability speak. You do not need to exhaust yourself to justify your position continuously. Excellence is enough. This does not mean lower standards. It means stop confusing excessive effort with moral worth. The man who believes he belongs can concentrate on results. The man who feels he must constantly prove belonging often becomes scattered by performance. He says yes too often. He avoids delegation. He fears mistakes more than he studies them, because every mistake feels like exposure. You must break this. A mistake does not expose you as an imposter. It exposes a weakness in judgment, preparation, or execution. Correct the weakness, then move. Competent men make errors. Wise men study them. Insecure men hide them. Choose wisdom. This is how you become comfortable carrying more responsibility. You learn that responsibility does not require perfection. It requires honesty, correction, and growth. The man who secretly believes he must be flawless before he deserves success will postpone advancement forever. There will always be another weakness. Develop while moving. Prepare seriously. Then accept opportunities that stretch you reasonably. Do not wait until nothing frightens you. Courage is needed precisely because uncertainty remains. There is another ceiling you must examine, the ceiling created by comparison. You may believe you deserve more until you meet someone far ahead. Then your confidence collapses. Why? Because you are not measuring against purpose. You are measuring against position. Someone else's larger result does not reduce the value of your next step. Study him. Learn what can be learned. Then return to your own development. Do not use another man's success as evidence against yourself. His success proves something is possible under certain conditions that may be useful. It does not prove you are late. It does not prove you are inferior. It does not prove your road must look like his. Comparison becomes poisonous when admiration turns into self-rejection. Keep admiration. Remove self-rejection. You can say that is excellent. What principle can I learn? Then continue. A secure man can celebrate another man's strength without feeling diminished. This is part of abundance thinking, not mystical abundance, psychological abundance. The belief that another man's gain does not automatically become your loss. There is room for more than one capable man, more than one successful enterprise, more than one respected voice, more than one wealthy family. Scarcity of mind creates envy because it imagines success as a fixed amount already divided. Then another man's achievement feels like theft. Reject that. Focus on value creation. What can you produce? What can you improve? Whom can you serve? A man absorbed in creation has less time for envy, and creation reinforces deserving because every useful result becomes evidence of capacity. You begin trusting yourself, not because you are superior to others, but because you know how to create value where you stand. That confidence travels. It travels into a new market, a new position, a new city, a new stage of life. External conditions may change, but the internal method remains. Observe, learn, serve, improve, persist. This gives you something stronger than status. It gives you portable confidence. Status can be removed. Portable confidence remains because it was built from process. That is the confidence you want. Not, I deserve success because I am special. I can become successful because I know how to think, learn, serve, and persist. That belief is sturdy. It does not need superiority. It does not need entitlement. It needs evidence. Keep gathering evidence. This is also how you heal the guilt of outgrowing old conditions. You realize growth does not mean you are declaring yourself better than the people you came from. You are simply accepting responsibility for what you can become. You can still honor them. Help them where appropriate. Remain humble. Remain grateful. But gratitude does not require imitation. If your father struggled financially, honoring him does not require repeating his struggle. Perhaps the highest honor is to learn from what his struggle taught you and build greater stability for the next generation. If your family never owned a business, you do not dishonor them by building one. If no one around you pursued advanced study, you do not betray them by studying. Growth can become continuation rather than rejection. You take the courage, endurance, loyalty, or work ethic you received and carry it into a larger field. That is a more generous interpretation. It removes the false choice between belonging and becoming. You can belong and become, but some people may still resist your growth. Accept this without hostility. Your change may remind them of decisions they have postponed. Your discipline may make their excuses uncomfortable. Your new standards may create distance. Do not use this as proof that you are superior. Use it as information. Not everyone will understand the direction. They are not required to. You are responsible for conducting yourself well, not for forcing agreement. Keep your manners. Keep humility. Keep purpose. Do not argue constantly about your ambition. Build quietly. Results do not need endless defense. And remember that the deepest permission must come from within. If you still need everyone to approve the larger life before you pursue it, then everyone still holds part of the steering wheel. Take it back. You may receive counsel. You may adjust after hearing wisdom, but the final decision must align with your definite purpose and your principles. This is independence of thought. Without it, belief remains borrowed, and borrowed belief collapses when the lender disagrees. Build your own. You do that through study, experience, reflection, and repeated action. Then something begins changing beneath the surface. You stop asking, "Am I allowed to have this?" You begin asking, "Am I prepared to carry this well?" That is a stronger question. It shifts deserving away from emotional permission and towards stewardship. Can you handle the money? Can you preserve character under praise? Can you lead without becoming controlling? Can you love without becoming dependent? Can you receive opportunity without becoming careless? Can you enjoy success without feeling guilty for it? These are the questions of a man preparing to receive more. And as you begin answering them with stronger conduct, the old ceiling weakens. Watch for this contradiction in your conduct. You may pursue an opportunity until it becomes real, then lose enthusiasm. You may prepare for advancement, then create reasons to delay the final step. You may ask for greater responsibility, then become relieved when someone else receives it. Do not dismiss these reactions. They may reveal that desire has reached the border where responsibility begins. Wanting success is comfortable while success remains imaginary. Receiving it means decisions become larger, mistakes become visible, and excuses become less useful. That is why inner preparation matters. You must become emotionally willing to live at the level you intellectually request. Otherwise, hesitation will keep arranging escapes from the future you claim to want. Learn to recognize those escapes before they become another 10 years of delay. But there is another ceiling hidden beyond guilt. A man may believe he deserves success and still fear what success will demand from him. He may fear responsibility, visibility, criticism, change, or the loss of the familiar life he knows how to manage. And unless that fear is faced, he may keep success close enough to desire, but far enough away to avoid ever having to become the man who can truly hold it. A man may say he wants success and still arrange his life so that success never becomes too real. That is one of the strangest contradictions in human behavior. He desires the position, but fears the responsibility. He desires recognition, but fears being judged. He desires wealth, but fears managing more than he has ever managed. He desires influence, but fears the criticism that influence attracts. He wants the larger life provided the larger life does not require him to leave the familiar man behind. This is where many ambitions quietly stop, not at lack of opportunity, at lack of inner permission to become unfamiliar to yourself. You know how to be the man who is trying. You know how to be the man who's almost there. You know how to be the man preparing, studying, planning, improving. Those identities can feel safe because the final test has not arrived. But when the opportunity becomes real, imagination can suddenly turn against you. What if I fail publicly? What if I cannot handle the responsibility? What if people expect more from me than I can give? What if success changes my relationships? What if I discover I am not as capable as I believed? These questions can make a man retreat at the very moment he appears ready to advance. You must learn to distinguish warning from fear. A warning is specific. It points to a weakness, a missing fact, a real risk. Fear is often vague. It simply says, stay where you are. Do not obey vague fear without examination. Ask what exactly you are afraid of. Responsibility. Then prepare for responsibility. Visibility. Then strengthen your independence from praise. Criticism. Then learn to separate useful criticism from noise. Large sums of money. Then study stewardship. Do not answer a specific developmental need with a general retreat. That is how men remain smaller than their own capacity. The next level of life always contains conditions you have not mastered yet. That does not mean you are unworthy of entering it. It means growth will continue after entry. You do not become completely ready for leadership before leading. Some leadership ability is developed because leadership is finally required. You do not become completely ready for wealth before possessing more wealth. Some financial judgment develops because larger decisions finally become real. You do not become completely ready for influence before being heard. Some steadiness develops because your words now carry more consequence. Stop demanding finished capacity before accepting developmental responsibility. Prepare seriously. Then allow the responsibility itself to educate you. A man who waits until he feels no fear before advancing will postpone advancement for years. Courage is not the absence of uncertainty. It is action governed by purpose while uncertainty remains. You have practiced this before in smaller ways. The first serious responsibility you accepted probably felt larger than your confidence. Then experience caught up. The first difficult conversation may have unsettled you. Then repetition made directness easier. The first time you managed an important sum may have made you cautious. Then judgment improved. Capacity expands through use. Remember that a muscle not used does not become strong by merely imagining future strength. Your faculties work the same way. Give them worthy resistance. This does not mean recklessness. Do not accept a responsibility you have no reasonable basis to carry. But stop using the demand for perfect certainty as an excuse to remain untested. There is another fear beneath visibility, the fear of being seen changing. When you are obscure, your experiments are private. You can change direction quietly. You can fail without many witnesses. Greater visibility changes that people notice. They discuss. They expect consistency. This can make a man rigid. He becomes afraid to revise a decision because revision might look weak. Do not let visibility steal your ability to think. You are allowed to update a conclusion when facts change. You are allowed to improve a method. You are allowed to admit I was wrong. A man who cannot change because people are watching becomes a prisoner of appearance. That is too high a price for recognition. Keep truth above image. If the method is weak, change it. If the agreement is wrong, correct it. If a public prediction proves false, acknowledge it. Your credibility is not protected by pretending error never occurred. It is strengthened when men learn that you value accuracy more than ego. This is one of the disciplines success requires. The larger the platform, the more dangerous vanity becomes. Vanity makes criticism feel like insult. It makes correction feel like humiliation. It makes disagreement feel like disloyalty. Guard against that. You do not deserve success because you become immune to being wrong. You become fit for success by remaining teachable while responsibility grows. A man who can be corrected without collapsing becomes difficult to stop. Why? Because error no longer threatens identity. He can study it, he can adjust, he can continue. Insecure men spend energy defending mistakes. Secure men spend energy correcting them. Choose security. And security should be built around character, not reputation. Reputation belongs partly to other people's opinions. Character belongs more directly to you. If reputation rises, remain the same student of principle. If reputation falls unfairly, remain the same student of principle. Do not let public weather determine private conduct. This becomes increasingly important as success brings criticism. The more visible the result, the more opinions gather around it. Some criticism will be useful. Some will be ignorant. Some will come from envy. Some will come from people who genuinely see a weakness you missed. Your task is not to silence all criticism. Your task is to sort it. Ask, is there fact here? Is there a pattern? Does this person understand the situation? Can I improve something? If yes, use it. If not, release it. Do not give every opinion equal weight. That would be mental disorder. A stranger's careless remark should not outweigh years of disciplined evidence, but neither should years of success make you deaf to one accurate warning. Use proportion. The man who secretly fears criticism will often avoid excellence because excellence attracts notice. He remains competent but not exceptional, useful but hidden. He tells himself he prefers modesty. Sometimes he is protecting himself from judgment. Examine this honestly. Humility does not require invisibility. Humility means you do not make achievement proof of superiority. You may still allow your work to be seen. You may still speak with authority where authority has been earned. You may still accept recognition without pretending recognition created your value. This is important because hiding can become another form of self-rejection. If your work can serve more people, do not reduce its reach merely because attention makes you uncomfortable. Learn to carry attention. That is part of stewardship too. The same applies to money. Many men desire wealth abstractly, but become anxious when wealth creates decisions. Where should it go? How much should be kept liquid? How much risk is wise? Who can be trusted? What should be given? What should be invested? How should lifestyle change? Suddenly, money is not merely pleasure. It is responsibility. This is why a man who has not prepared psychologically for wealth may quickly convert wealth back into familiar scarcity. He spends carelessly, lends without judgment, enters weak ventures, expands lifestyle too quickly. Then he says, money is difficult to keep perhaps, but management can be learned. Do not make fear of losing wealth an excuse to reject wealth. Become better at holding it. Start with what you have. Keep records. Understand obligations. Create reserves. Delay purchases that exist mainly to impress. Study before investing. Do not hand financial authority to another person merely because numbers make you uncomfortable. Seek competent advice, but understand enough to ask intelligent questions. Stewardship reduces fear. Knowledge reduces unnecessary mystery. A man usually feels more deserving of what he understands how to govern. This is true beyond money. The more you understand the responsibility, the less alien the result feels. Study leadership if you want leadership. Study negotiation if you want better agreements. Study communication if your work requires influence. Study people if you want stronger associations. Deserving expands when capability expands. Again, not because life owes you payment for study, because your conduct becomes more compatible with the result. That compatibility matters. A man may desire a larger enterprise while keeping habits suited to a smaller one. He wants growth but refuses systems. He wants more customers but resists delegation. He wants a stronger team but controls every decision. Then growth feels overwhelming because the structure is not prepared. Do not ask success to enter a house with no room for it. Create room, organize, delegate, write procedures, clarify responsibilities, strengthen accounting, remove unnecessary complexity. A larger result needs a larger structure. This is one reason men sabotage opportunity. Opportunity exposes the structure. If the structure is weak, the opportunity feels threatening. Instead of a strengthening structure, they shrink the opportunity. Reverse that. Let the larger possibility reveal what must be built, then build it. This is growth through demand. You should also prepare for the change in relationships that often accompanies advancement. Not every relationship will change. Some will deepen. Some will become stronger because there is more freedom, more maturity, more capacity to help. Others may become strained. A person accustomed to one version of you may resist another. Do not assume every strain means you have become arrogant, but do not assume every critic is jealous either. Examine your conduct. Have you become unavailable without reason? Have you begun treating old friends as inferior? Have you turned every conversation into a report of your achievements? Correct that. Success does not require social vanity. But if you remain respectful and someone still resents your growth, do not shrink merely to restore comfort. You cannot permanently negotiate against your own development to preserve every old arrangement. Some relationships must learn the new terms. Some will. Some will not accept that without bitterness. The fear of losing belonging can be stronger than the desire for success. This is why a man may repeatedly stop at the level his group considers normal. He does not consciously decide to stop. He simply becomes uncomfortable when he moves beyond the group standard. Then he creates reasons to retreat. Watch for this. Are you protecting a relationship or protecting your membership in an old identity? There is a difference. A true relationship can often survive growth if humility and respect remain. An identity agreement may not. The identity agreement says we all remain approximately the same. If one rises, tension appears. Do not build your future around such an agreement. You can remain loving without remaining equal in every result. Life does not distribute results equally. People choose differently, prepare differently, risk differently, persist differently. Do not make another person's discomfort proof that your progress is immoral. At the same time, never use progress as permission for contempt. You do not know every burden another man carries. You do not know every choice available to him. Stay focused on your own conduct. This balance protects growth from both guilt and arrogance. You are neither apologizing for progress nor worshiping it. You are using it. That is the right posture. Use wealth, use influence, use time, use knowledge. Do not merely possess them. Possession without purpose eventually becomes empty. This is where deserving reaches a deeper level. You begin asking, not only am I worthy of receiving more, you begin asking, what will more permit me to do? That question changes desire. You stop wanting wealth merely to escape insecurity. You begin wanting margin to make better choices. You stop wanting influence merely to be admired. You begin wanting influence to move worthy ideas. You stop wanting authority merely to feel important. You begin wanting authority to create better conditions for people in work. Desire becomes less self-centered and more purposeful. That makes success easier to carry because it has somewhere to go. A river stagnates when it has no outlet. Resources can do the same. Let increase flow toward purpose. This does not mean giving everything away or refusing enjoyment. Enjoyment has its place. Use money for comfort within reason. Use time for rest. Use success to improve your surroundings. There is no virtue in pretending good results should never improve your life, but improvement should not end with consumption. Let some of it become construction, a stronger business, a better home environment, education, opportunity for others, financial reserves, useful work. Then success begins reinforcing identity in a healthy way. You see yourself not merely as a man who acquired more, but as a man who can govern more. This is the identity you want. Governance is stronger than possession. Possession says, I have this. Governance says, I can use this wisely. That applies to talent too. A gifted man may secretly fear his own gift because using it fully creates expectation. If he performs brilliantly once, people expect brilliance again, so he stays below his capacity where expectation feels safer. Do not do this. Use the gift. Let expectation sharpen discipline, not become a reason for concealment. You are not obligated to perform perfectly. You are obligated to prepare honestly. Do the work, then let the results stand. If it is excellent, accept excellence. If it is weak, correct weakness. This simple relationship to performance will free you from enormous tension. The insecure man wants every result to prove worth. The secure man wants every result to reveal truth. Truth is more useful. It tells you where you are. Then you can improve. You should also stop fearing that confidence will make you arrogant. Confidence and arrogance are not the same thing. Confidence says, I can handle this or learn what is required. Arrogance says, I have nothing to learn. Confidence permits questions. Arrogance pretends certainty. Confidence can admire stronger men. Arrogance feels threatened by them. Develop confidence. You need it to receive larger opportunities without becoming either timid or inflated. The grounded man can say, yes, I am ready for this responsibility, and I will still need counsel. That sentence contains strength and humility. Use it. There may also be a hidden fear that success will remove excuses. As long as you are struggling, many unrealized possibilities can be blamed on circumstance. Not enough money, not enough support, not enough access. But what happens when those excuses disappear? Now the question becomes whether you will use what you asked for. This can frighten a man. He may unconsciously preserve one obstacle because the obstacle protects him from the final test. Do you see how subtle this can become? You complain about lacking time, then fill new free time with unnecessary duties. You complain about lacking money, then spend new income until pressure returns. You complain about lacking opportunity, then hesitate when opportunity finally requires a decision. The obstacle returns because the obstacle is familiar. Break this. When a constraint is removed, use the space it created. If you gain time, direct some of it toward the chief aim. If you gain money, create margin before increasing obligations. If you gain influence, improve the quality of your decisions. Let improvement remain improvement. This teaches the mind that good conditions are safe to keep. Many people know how to recover from adversity better than they know how to remain in stability. Stability feels strange. They become restless. They expect disaster. They create risk. You must learn to inhabit success without needing to sabotage it for emotional familiarity. Peace may feel unfamiliar. Let it become familiar. Order may feel dull after years of crisis. Let it become normal. Financial reserve may feel excessive after scarcity. Let it remain. A healthy relationship may feel less dramatic than unstable affection. Do not confuse drama with depth. You are training your nervous system and your mind to stop treating struggle as proof that life is real. This is essential if you want to hold what you attract. Receiving is only half the problem. Retention requires identity. Can you remain the man who saves after the emergency ends? Can you remain disciplined after praise arrives? Can you remain respectful after authority increases? Can you remain teachable after success confirms you? These questions determine whether success becomes permanent or temporary. A result can arrive before character is ready. Then the result often leaves not because of punishment, because structure was weak. Strengthen structure before and after the increase. This is why your sense of deserving should never become entitlement. Entitlement says, I should have this because I want it. Self-respect says, I am willing to develop the capacity required to earn, receive, and govern it. Keep the second. It keeps you active. It keeps humility alive. It keeps you from blaming the world when preparation is missing. And it gives you confidence when preparation is present. You can enter opportunity knowing you have paid in discipline, study, service, and persistence. Then you do not need to apologize for the result. Receive it, use it, continue growing. But there is one more transformation ahead. A man can become comfortable receiving success and still limit himself by the size of what he asked for. He may have conquered guilt, fear, and inferiority, yet continue setting goals that merely improve the old life instead of requiring a genuinely larger identity. The final ceiling is often not whether you believe you deserve success. It is whether you believe you deserve enough success to become responsible for an entirely different scale of contribution, freedom, and possibility. That is where desire must become bolder without becoming foolish. You must stop measuring tomorrow only by what yesterday made familiar. A greater aim may frighten you precisely because it demands capacities you have not fully used. Let that demand call them forward through disciplined action and sustained faith. A larger life begins when you stop asking only for relief and begin asking what your full capacity could produce. Many men never make that shift. They want enough money to remove pressure, enough recognition to silence doubt, enough security to feel safe. There's nothing wrong with these desires. But once necessity has been answered, purpose must become larger than escape. Ask yourself what you would build if fear were no longer choosing the size of your ambition. What would you attempt if you stopped assuming the greater opportunity belonged to another man? What service could you render? What enterprise could you improve? What knowledge could you master? What responsibility could you eventually carry with honor? Do not answer with fantasy. Answer with a definite aim. Then examine the distance between the man you are and the man that aim requires. That distance is not an insult. It is your curriculum. If the larger aim requires better judgment, develop judgment. If it requires capital, learn to create and preserve capital. If it requires leadership, become worthy of trust before demanding authority. If it requires courage, begin making smaller, courageous decisions. Now, this is how belief becomes practical. You do not convince yourself that you deserve more by repeating grand claims. You convince yourself by becoming increasingly capable of carrying more. Then desire stops feeling like trespassing. It begins feeling like responsibility. And when opportunity appears, do not shrink merely because it arrives sooner than your confidence expected. Ask whether you are prepared enough to begin, not perfectly prepared. Enough. If the answer is yes, step forward. Let the responsibility develop what preparation could not complete. You will never become familiar with a larger life while standing permanently outside it. Enter, learn, correct, grow, and when success begins to stay, resist the temptation to reduce yourself back to familiar limits. Keep the reserves, keep the discipline, keep the standards, keep the humility. Do not recreate scarcity because scarcity once taught you strength. Do not recreate rejection because rejection once taught you persistence. Do not create another battle because battle once gave you identity. Let the lesson remain while the suffering leaves. That is maturity. You are not required to remain loyal to every condition that formed you. You are required to use what those conditions taught you. Then, your past becomes preparation instead of imprisonment. This is the deeper meaning of deserving. It is not declaring that the world owes you wealth, love, position, or recognition. It is refusing to reject worthy opportunities merely because an older version of you would have felt unqualified to receive them. It is becoming able to say, I can accept this without guilt. I can govern this without arrogance. I can enjoy this without becoming careless. I can use this without becoming owned by it. That is self-command. And self-calm is what allows success to remain. So stop asking whether you are allowed to want more. Ask whether the thing you want is worthy. Ask what it requires. Ask what value you must create in return. Then begin becoming compatible with it. Build the skill. Build the character. Build the faith. Build the discipline. Build the capacity to receive without shrinking and to possess without losing yourself. The world will not always announce that you have crossed an old boundary. Sometimes the evidence is quieter. You negotiate without apologizing. You receive praise without dismissing it. You keep money without immediately finding a reason to lose it. You enter company without assuming you are inferior. You accept affection without searching for betrayal. Notice these moments. They are evidence that the inner standard has changed. Protect that change through conduct. What becomes normal inside you will begin influencing what you choose, what you refuse, what you preserve, and what you are prepared to receive without retreating ever again. Because life may place opportunity before you long before your old identity feels ready. When it does, do not let an outdated opinion of yourself send it away. Stand up, meet it, carry it well, and keep growing until the life you once thought belonged to someone else becomes a life your own character has learned to hold.